My name is Andy, and this is the most magical podcast on earth. When I'm not on holiday at Walt Disney World, I'm planning a holiday to Disney. And when I'm not planning a holiday to Disney, I'm talking about Disney with other UK fans like me who make the trip to Orlando and the House of the Mouse. So whether you're a parks professional or a Florida first-timer, this is the podcast for you. Each episode, I'll be chatting to other Disney superfans to share memories of their magical times, answering your Walt Disney World questions, getting you all the latest news from the parks, and finding out what's happening right now in Orlando. So get your ears on as we take you to the most magical place on earth. This is the most magical podcast on earth, and it's the last episode of the year. Where is it gone? It's flown by. We always take a bit of a break in the new year. The New Year's break will be a little bit longer than usual. If you missed the announcement on the last episode, go back to that. We'll fill you in with all the Christmassy stuff that I got up to. But the big announcement is that next year, for 2025, I will be visiting every Disney park across the world. It starts with a trip to Disneyland Paris to see in the new year. Then a few weeks after that, in January, I'm going to be going over to California to do Adventures by Disney, spending some time at Disneyland, then going over to Aulani, thanks to the DVC points, and then throughout the year visiting the Eastern parks, going to China, Hong Kong, Japan, and ending the year at our favourite Walt Disney World. So I'll be part of the Six Castles Club by the end of the year. So I'm going to do regular updates as normal with all my adventures from the parks. And of course, follow us on the socials as well at Podmagical. So that's next year. Do subscribe to the podcast because I'm not sure when the next one is going to be. But if you subscribe to it, don't worry about it. It'll just be there. We've got a great episode now to get into. Fabulous guests to round out the new year. We'll chat to John in just a moment. And one more question before we get into our chat with John, and that is from Gina, who will be going to Walt Disney World for Christmas. Christmas Day, where would be the best place to get the nearest thing to a traditional Christmas dinner? There's got to be places in Orlando that will do like a proper Christmas dinner. But Christmas dinner is very similar to the Thanksgiving dinner. So I would go to Garden Grill for lunch or dinner because you get the turkey there and the trimmings, and also Liberty Tree Tavern over at Magic Kingdom. That's very similar. It's family style. So if you're looking for turkey and the trimmings, those are the two places. I'm not sure whether Raglan Road actually does a Christmas dinner. I know that they did Thanksgiving dinners quite a few places for actual Thanksgiving, but I'm not 100% sure whether a traditional British Christmas dinner. You'd think the Rose and Crown would do something like that, wouldn't you? But if you know, let me know, and I will update the socials before Christmas. If you're going to be over to Walt Disney World for Christmas, I've got some top festive tips at the end of this episode with everything that's going on, how to do Christmas, how to do New Year. But right now, we've got a guest to chat to. Last podcast of the year, and please welcome from the podcast family. We've had other guests from the Great British Mickey Waffle, and John is with us right now. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Andy. Absolutely delighted to be able to join you.
I am.
It's been a long time coming, this one.
It's been a while. Yeah, I've been on your podcast a few times, and I've been saying, when are you going to come on? When are you going to come on? Because I know you've had health issues, but all that's been sorted out. You've been back to the magic, so we've got lots to talk about.
Oh, just a bit.
Shall we start firstly by telling me why you love Walt Disney World?
Well, it's the reason why we do the podcast, and I think it's that bizarre thing when you get to an age where you should know better and you should actually have a few, keep yourself a few dollars in the bank. You still can't resist that whole thing of going back and just being in a place that you feel not just passionate about, but you completely lose yourself in.
Yeah.
And it just is. I think this year more than anything, I think has kind of summed up what you do. Because in the 5 years I've not been, your brain tries to tell you this. Oh well, maybe I won't like it. Maybe it's not as good as it's cracked out to be. And the minute, an hour, you walk into any of those theme parks in Orlando, you're reminded of why you're such a Disney fan and why you just become completely embraced by the whole thing. And it's just like, it's quite comical. I think even my family just look at me and it's just like, oh, He's off on one again.
He's happy. He's home. Now, the reason that you've not been for 5 years, you went this year, not just the pandemic. Do you want to explain what's been going on in your life for the last 5 years?
Oh, yeah. It's been,
briefly,
John. Yeah, briefly. Okay. Edited highlights. We went in 2019 was the last time we went as a family. Kids were quite, sort of 15 and 12, something like that. And we'd agreed that in 2020, we were going to have a year off. We'd done every summer from 2008 to 2019. We just had a fantastic time. And we thought it's time for a year off. Little did we know what was going to happen with pandemic, etc. In the meantime, I packed my job in purely because it was killing me. And it was one of the best things I've ever done. Retrained as a driving instructor. Got through the pandemic. You're thinking, great, we're back on track, we're doing this. And then my dentist found out I had the lump on my tongue, which proved to be cancerous. And at one point, I didn't think I was ever going to be able to talk again, which for someone who enjoys talking as part of his job is not a good thing. But for someone who enjoys talking as part of a podcast, that's certainly not a good thing either. So I can only thank the people at York General Hospital, because the surgery team there were absolutely second to none. And without their input, but without the support of my family in getting better again, we basically what we embraced this summer would never have happened. And I can only be very thankful that it was actually found very early, and we can only be thankful that it appears to be sort of quite a good recovery. And obviously my speech, for me, I notice it. Lots of other people don't even give it a second thought, but you become really self-conscious about things when you
notice it more than anybody else. Obviously, there was a lot going through your mind when you got diagnosed. Was there at some point, because I'm thinking what I would be like if I had that kind of news, was there any point where you're going, what if I can't ever get back to Disney again?
Yeah, a little bit, but I've got to say, and I think that even the surgical team fed off the fact that even while I was in hospital, it was like a 15-hour operation. So it was really heavy duty. And the surgical team came to see me before I was discharged. And they said they just couldn't believe the fact that, one, I was so determined to speak again, but two, I was so positive about getting better. And I said, well, and they said, well, why are you like that? I said, well, I thought you're supposed to be like that. Yeah. I can only be one way. And I'm a very, very, that positivity has actually seen me through an awful lot. And even when, I packed in work as a head teacher, that was the times where you question your positivity. I wasn't in control of that at that time. I didn't know exactly what was going on. It was just a completely toxic affair that was just, I was just well out of it. But this was something that I couldn't do anything about. And you put your trust in people who knew exactly what they were doing. And actually that positivity fed off on them. But now, I've started writing about this trip. And what has really hit me is the fact that people who have read, certainly my journey over the past 5 years, they've taken out that positive part of it. It's really struck me, because it's people who are starting their own cancer journey, and it's men, it's women who are in that boat. Disney fans in particular are like, oh my word, I'm in this boat. I've just been diagnosed. I'm an absolute mess. What I've read just gives me that strength to actually move forward. Now, I never thought of that when I was writing it. For me, I just write it out for the kids so that they've got a record of what we've done. But for it to now transport itself to being, someone said it was an inspiration. I would never ever describe myself as being an inspiration. I would never be that responsible enough to be an inspiration.
Irresponsible. It's good knowing that somebody's gone through what they're going through and they've come out the other side. I guess that's what it is as well.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Andy. It's coming through the other side and actually knowing that life can be, it won't be exactly the same again, but you can make it as much as what you had before. And that was the bit this summer was so nice to actually, for my kids to actually see their dad back in the place that he loved, and it was as if all of their efforts, because they've been through the mill watching me.
The entire family goes through it, yeah.
Yeah, and for them to actually see that come full circle to back when, in a way, when everything was kind of perfect in 2019, to actually have that back 5 years later, I think for them was such a relief in a way, because I don't think they thought that we'd ever be able to go there again, and I certainly didn't.
So what was it like, that first step back into the magic this summer?
Do you know, I actually filmed it. I filmed it because I thought, do you know, it'd be a really nice thing to do and put it out on our social channel. And I was really I really wasn't as excited, and it wasn't as emotional as I thought it would have been. It was, and I was kind of disappointed. So I thought, well, I'll tell you what, that was when we walked into Magic Kingdom. I thought, right, okay, I'm back. It was more relief. It wasn't an emotional bit.
All right.
It was just a feeling of relief. The bit where I became quite emotional was more when we went into Epcot. And I always feel that Epcot's like a spiritual home, and yet the last time we were there, it was just on that cusp of the boards were going up.
Walcott.
And you were just becoming sort of, you put your hard hat on, I think, when you get off the monorail in 2019, and this time to see it in its current state and in a pretty much a finished sort of refurb, etc. That for me was like, oh my word, we've been away from here for far too long.
Yeah.
And at that point, it became kind of, wow, we've made it. But we did so many amazing things. It became a trip where, one, we were able to see a lot of people that I've become friends with online either through the podcast or people who've been in touch and things like that. And so to actually see them in real life was something quite surreal, because we never,
virtual friends.
I've never had, never thought of that. And then there's a cast member who's part of Finding Nemo the musical, who we'd reached out to just at the start of lockdown, because we knew that the show was closing, and we kind of kept in touch, and she's seen me through some really dark days through my recovery. But at that part of lockdown, they were in a really bad place, because it's their job. And if you're an entertainer and you're not entertaining and you're locked in your own home and you've got no job, it became like, how do you pay the bills? And actually to just have that conversation.
Yeah.
And so we met up, and it was one of the most beautiful feelings of actually meeting someone who you've been able to help, and they've helped us. And that was kind of an outpouring of emotion. And I think my wife was sort of looking at it and just saying, how on earth do you get yourself into such situations? It's just like, you can't believe that you can actually do that.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
Isn't your son a cast member? He went over on the exchange program.
He was. He did the college program for the summer, so that kind of threw a different tilt on us going, because he was already out there. We went when we actually started our journey out there. He'd been working since the start of June. So as we arrived, we went to see him in Animal Kingdom. He was on outdoor vending, which, if you're British, is not the greatest of things to be outdoors in full sun for a whole summer.
Especially Animal Kingdom, where it's always about 100 degrees hotter than any other park.
Exactly. So he was delighted to see us as well. I think that sort of reuniting as a family became quite a big part of it. Even though he's at university and he doesn't live at home anymore, it was quite a thing, because he'd been there, obviously, like I say, from the start of June, and it's a tough gig.
Yeah.
They work you hard, and it's not as it's sort of painted out to be. You have to work hard, and you're basically the beck and call of the
mouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it's an experience that'll stay with him forever.
Exactly, working for Disney, totally.
You know, I only wish when I was his age, I'd been given that kind of opportunity, or even knew that sort of thing was out there. You know, it's just a brilliant thing to have been part of, and you know, I think he'll look back. Eventually, he'll look back, and he'll probably see the funny side of sort of getting wet in an afternoon storm and then still having to work for 2 or 3 hours. You know, whilst your feet are absolutely ringing. So he's had a great summer, and it was good, because what happened was, by the time we got out there, our first week was whilst he was working, and then he finished. So we actually had the last 2 weeks as a family holiday, and then to finish it was his 21st. Which was great, because on the way out, the Virgin staff, he flew with Virgin on the way out, and they knew that there was quite a few college program and people doing Camp America, and they were basically coming down with a trolley and giving them 2 or 3 beers at a time. It's the last time you'll be able to drink for months. And so we got to his 21st, and all he wanted to do was
get drunk.
Go a few drinks around the world in Epcot. I'll put it that way.
1 or 2, yeah.
And that was good. That was a really good way of finishing off. And actually, it was everything he'd wanted to do for his 21st.
Perfect.
That was good. Yeah.
So that was this summer. Let's go back. When was your very first ever trip to Walt Disney World, John?
It actually wasn't meant to be a trip to Walt Disney World, because believe it or not, I'm quite a cynical person, and so I was never really, from a young age, a Disney person. I had a chance of going in about 84, 85 with my parents, but I refused.
What?
And so I refused. I was of an age where, when you sort of teenage angst and things like that, and I decided, no, I'm not going with you. So my parents went, and my brother went, and I stayed at home. And I think I went to see the open golf and things like that. I had a great time. But they did Magic Kingdom in half a day, and then Epcot had only just opened, so they managed to fit Epcot into the other half a day. and then they said they'd done it when they came back, but they've never been back again.
They never been back since?
No, and that's the bit that really sort of struck me as being, they did it wrong, and they didn't embrace exactly what it's about.
Yeah. So
I first went. My wife dragged me along I was allegedly going to play golf, so I took my clubs and things like that, and my stepdad was out there, and we did the golf bit and stuff. And so I said, I'll tell you what, let's get a 3-day ticket. So this would be about early 2000s,
right?
And we ended up, and that was it. It was just like the very first day. It was at a time where the actual, if you got transportation from a resort, and it was off-site, the resort. So we got this bus, and the bus dropped you off right in the very back of Magic Kingdom. So you actually came back into the park over the railway lines, now in the area where Tron actually is now. And so you came across the railway track. And so it kind of threw me for a long time afterwards. It's like, hang on, we didn't come in on the monorail or the boat. We just kind of appeared, and then It's a Small World was right in front of you.
How odd.
And it's really bizarre.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I sat on It's a Small World. And like I think the saying goes, the rest is kind of history. From there, it just became I get this. I understand it. I want more of it. And so from there became what became a passion.
Yeah.
And it kind of snowballed and kind of got a little bit out of hand at times, because we then sort of when the boys turned up, it was a case of, well, when can we get back? When can we do this? It was like, just by the time. And I think our youngest wasn't even 1, and we got a quick trip to Paris because we just needed a bit of a Disney fix. And so we said, right, that's it. We're going to go for a Christmas. So we did Christmas 2008, and the kids were really young. Yeah, kids were like 4 and 2. probably at the time. And so we took them, and it could have gone either way, because our Josh at the time was of an age where if anyone was dressed up and came into nursery school, he would have like a bit of a meltdown.
Oh, it could be a problem in Disney World, yeah.
And we're thinking, oh my word, this we never thought this through properly, did we? And that time we walked right into the park. There was Pinocchio just right outside City Hall, and we kind of just pushed him towards the character, and the character Pinocchio just came and gave him a massive hug. And at that moment, we just both Alison and I looked at each other and just went, phew. we're all right now. And then, like I say, and then from then we went the following summer, we went the following Christmas, we went the following summer. Excuse me. And it just became part of one of those things that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we enjoyed doing as a family. And we then went and explored different parts of Florida as well, and built that into a trip. So one year, I think we went for 5 weeks.
Wow.
Which was the most insane thing to even think about. But it was brilliant because we got so much in, but we didn't feel as if we were rushing, and we didn't feel as if we were just cramming everything in. We could take our time, and we could just soak it up. And that's kind of been a lot of the things I've spoken about on our podcast is, the slower you go, the more the magic comes to you.
Yes.
Because you then become very aware that, you just soak it up, and then suddenly little things happen because you're actually in the right place at the right time. And if you'd been rushing to get on Space Mountain, or you've been rushing to go and get a dining reservation somewhere, you would have missed it. And so we've had some beautiful experiences as a family that have just, interactions with characters, things where, there was one time when the boys were asked by a cast member to go and crawl under the toilet doors because somebody had actually locked all the toilet doors and they were too big to get under the door. So they were small enough to do it. But as a result, they got given this like golden ticket, fast pass thing. So they got fast passes for the rest of the day, and they got a free, went to the shop and were able to buy a T-shirt and things.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, and it's just like, but we were just being helpful. And it's of a time where, when you think that was just ridiculous how that came into being. But that's how magical it is when you go on a Disney holiday. Things happen to you that you really are not expecting, and you're not prepared for just how it feels the other way around. Yeah. So that was something else. But this summer, the roles were reversed a little bit because Josh was working. He managed to get cast member discount. So not only did we get some pretty cheap merchandise, but he was able to get a hotel at a mightily discounted price as well. But he didn't tell me. So I wasn't privy to this. And so I was just told, don't book anything for whatever date it was. And so one of my fellow Great British Mickey Wafflers was out as well. And Claire was saying, we can go and meet such and such a person, and we can do a bit of recording on this day. So I've been told I'm not allowed to do anything. So I knew absolutely nothing. We woke up 8:30 in the morning. We went to check into a hotel. I'm thinking, hang on, we're actually staying in a villa. Why are we going to the hotel? So Josh had managed to get us a night at the Grand Floridian at a really amazing price. And as we walked in, the penny dropped as to why it had been kept a secret, and it was payback for all the stuff that we've done for the kids.
Oh,
and
bless.
I just thought, it's that bit where it was the passing of the baton in a way, because we've always tried to surprise them with, surprise sort of holiday announcements, or trying to just do it as a reveal and things like that. So when you go on holiday, we've taken them to baseball, we've done other things, we've done family tours and things like that. But this was the first time it kind of reversed over, and he was able to do something for us.
Pay it back.
he made us pay for it, like, you know. But that'll hasten to.
But he got the discount.
But he got the discount made a difference. But that was just stunning, and just a place that I don't think we'd ever be able to afford to stay again. But like I said, we were checked in by 9 a.m. one day. We were only staying one night, and we left about half 11 the following day.
Drag it out,
just maxed out the entire place.
Of course.
It was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Going to do some quick fire questions with you now, John, as we're talking about resorts. Favourite resort?
Oh, this is flying in the face of what I've just said, but it's definitely Yacht and Beach Club, just simply for the proximity to Epcot, and it's just the most. It's just the smell, the atmosphere of being so close to the theme park, and just being able to walk in, walk out, and even if you want to just nip into France for breakfast at the patisserie
and nip out again.
It is one of exactly.
So, favourite places to eat, restaurants, quick service, favourite snacks. Where do you like to nibble?
Do you know that's a really tricky one. Purely from the fact that I would have chosen loads and loads of different places previously, but having had surgery on my tongue, I have to be very careful about what I eat now. So I would probably say the one place that's a go-to is Katsura Grill, purely because it's consistently good and it's nice food. I've kind of stopped being kind of a foodie, and that's kind of, it's a bit disappointing in a way, because I used to really enjoy my food, but now it's a case of you just take what you can get when you can get it. Do you think
there's anything the chefs could do? Like, if you've got any particular favourite restaurants, you go, look, I used to love eating this, but now I can't eat this. Is there anything you could do? I wonder whether would they be able to do anything? I
think I just go for anything that's got loads of sauce on it, and basically that makes it a little bit easier to eat. And I think we did even get to Longhorns one night, which I know it's not on resort and things like that, but I'd never had steak since I've been poorly. And so I went, and I knew if you get a decent steak in Longhorns, it's usually pretty good to eat. My word, it was second to none. And it was just like, even the rest of the family looking at me going, "Are you sure about this?" I said, "Yeah, what can go wrong?" We always stop somewhere else and I pick some soup up on the way home if we have to, but it was gorgeous. And at that moment, I'm thinking, yeah, that's why we come to the States, because you're going to get something you can eat.
You're going to get a good steak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's your favourite attraction? It can be a parade, can be a show, can be a ride.
Oh, now if anyone from Great British Make Your Waffle is listening to this, they will laugh at me madly if I didn't mention Spectro Magic at this particular point. So even though it's been gone for over 10 years, I still go back to the days of Spectro Magic. Show will always be Finding Nemo, the musical. Ride, it usually always would be Tower of Terror, but this summer Guardians has just crept up behind it. Guardians is just amazing. It just, again, is something I'd not watched any of the spoilers. I'd not deliberately not participated in watching YouTube. And so anytime we talked about it on the podcast, I kind of pushed it across as like, I'm not mentioning it. The only thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get a flock of seagulls when I ride it, and that is it.
Did you?
So, yeah, first time we're riding it, and we had Claire and her family were there, and Claire said the only thing that she could hear all the way around is me laughing, because it was like theme park sort of prediction come true.
Psychic John,
and it was amazing. And you were just thinking, that's it. I can retire from theme park.
I've done it
now. That's it. Theme park's done. Tick.
Where else do you like to go outside Disney? You mentioned you went once for 5 weeks and you managed to explore Florida. Any particular good places we should go to?
Oh, Anna Maria Island, which obviously at this particular point is suffering from the hurricane this year.
Ago,
It's a most amazing, most beautiful place. Certainly on that west coast. I didn't understand Clearwater to begin with. I thought it was a bit like Blackpool on steroids to begin with, but it's kind of, Clearwater's kind of grown on me a little. But on the East Coast, we went to a place called St. Augustine, which is up quite close to Jacksonville.
Yeah, I've been.
On that side. What a town that is. And we found this little tiny railway workers house to stay in, which had an extraordinary sort of vibe to it, which I won't go into because it'll scare people. It's but there was a definite spirit within that place. Because it was from when Flagler brought the railway into Florida, and so it was steeped in as much history as the town. But the town just blew us away, just as to how much history there is.
Yeah, a lot of history.
Considering how young as a nation America is. But St. Augustine seems to be the place that it didn't matter which boat you got from either Spain or the UK and you were an adventurer, everyone seems to land up in St. Augustine. And it's just like, it's one of them, you look at the history of it, it's absolutely fascinating. And that's for me is one place I would love to go back in the future.
Yeah, very pretty as well. I'm going to give you your perfect day at Disney World. Right, it's not your only day at Disney World, but if you could spend your perfect day, be a leisurely day, be a busy day, doing what you want, how would you spend it? Where would you stay? What would you do?
Wow. I think I'd have to go for the 4 parks in one day because I'm a bit greedy.
He's doing it.
And we love to do 4 parks in one day.
Go on then.
And we'd probably start off because if we're staying at the beach club, we'd probably have to start at Epcot, which is in kind of reverse order because normally I would have started with Animal Kingdom or the studios, but I'd start in Epcot just to get that done, quick and easy one. You sort it out. Probably do Guardians as well, just so we can do it. Then we'd get ourselves to Animal Kingdom, get that off the list. I would then go to Magic Kingdom, which is, again, probably a little bit controversial because what I'd like to do is ensure that I went to the studios to see Fantasmic, to finish the day off.
Fantasmic.
And again, that surprised me this summer because, again, it's been a favourite, but it was just how they've really spent a lot of money on it, either on the stage and on the lighting. But I think as well as someone who's really been a massive fan of Wishes, massive fan of Illuminations in Epcot, the changes to the evening fireworks shows are not quite the same. And I think Fantasmic actually is, for me, is perhaps the best evening entertainment that is in the parks just now. And that's, maybe not the view of a lot of people, but certainly from my point of view. And again, because you're in the studios, I'd have to go in and do a little bit of the Star Wars stuff as well, because actually I'm not a big Star Wars fan. But to see how that as a land has evolved, because in 2019 we knew it was built, but it was only soft opening for cast members. So we were on the outside watch. We watched people coming out, and they're like, people are just like, wow. And so to go and experience that was something else this year as well.
So close. So, have you got another trip planned when you're considering going back?
No, we haven't. And that's it. And that's the bit that sort of chewed away at me from when we come home, probably until now. I've had a really good sulk about not having another one planned. But we're at that as a family. We're at that time. Our Josh finishes university next summer. He's got plans of whatever he's going to do. Our Joe is about to finish sixth form next year. He wants to go, and he's a highly talented drummer, but he wants to go and do cruise ships.
Oh, okay.
So he's got plans for that. So what I don't want to do, and certainly Alison and I are very much, they can go and get themselves sorted, and then it can just be the two of us, and we can go and do whatever we want. And it's just like it's a really strange feeling, because actually having been as a family from such a young age and actually had the most amazing time this summer, we kind of knew, 2019 really was. I think I wrote a trip report, and it was called Going Out in a Blaze of Glory, because actually I felt that was going to be the last time we would go as a family. This time, it has that feeling that, yeah, it's the right time, but it will be a case that it'll be Alison and I that'll go back. And I'm pretty sure if the boys want to pay for their own flights and their own stuff, then that's fine. But
more than welcome.
There comes a time when Bank of Mum and Dad's going to come to an end, you know. And,
especially with Disney prices, they're not coming down; they're only going one way.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh well, John, I'm glad you're back to good health. I'm glad you've been back to the magic. You will still, even though you've not got a trip planned, you'll still be talking about it on the Great British Mickey Waffle.
Absolutely. Yeah, love it. And like I said earlier in the show, it's a passion. And as with everything that's a passion, you get that desire to just go back. Even when you can't be, don't think you are, but you're always thinking about going back and seeing when you can go and just soak up that magic again.
Keeps the magic going.
It certainly does.
Certainly does. John, have a lovely Christmas, and even more important, have a magical day.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for having me on the show.
If you would like to join me on the podcast to talk all things Walt Disney World, give me a shout. At Pod Magical is where we are. Make sure you follow us on all the socials to find out what is going on between now and the next podcast. This is the last podcast of the year, taking a bit of a break early in the new year. Then we'll be back with lots of magical adventures from all the parks from around the world. If you're going to be going over to Walt Disney World for Christmas, it's all going on. Vicky's, Vicky? Who's Vicky? Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party and the Jollywood Nights are wrapping up. But all the Christmas party stuff at Magic Kingdom becomes regular stuff as of next week. So a few days before Christmas, then right up to New Year's Eve, you get the parade switches for the Christmas parade. You get the fireworks switching for the Christmas fireworks and the party shows. They'll be on the main stage as well. So all the Christmas party stuff, if you're going over to Walt Disney World at the end of December, that becomes the regular Christmas stuff. So enjoy that. Meanwhile, you've got Festival of the Holidays over at Epcot there on until the 30th of December with the Candlelight Processional happening. Neil Patrick Harris, Gloria Estefan, Jodie Benson still to come as your celebrity narrators of the Candlelight Processional. Santa is out meeting and greeting. There's the storytellers at Epcot as well. Joyful, the incredible gospel R&B Quasar singers that are on at Epcot. I love Epcot. There's the cookie trail going on as well. And all sorts of festivities happening. I love the decorations over at Hollywood Studios. And you've got the Merry Menagerie over at Animal Kingdom. All the gingerbread houses, some of the big resorts like the Grand Floridian, you can go and see those. Christmas things happening over at SeaWorld and over at Universal as well. They got Grinchmas happening over there. Top tip for this episode. I've done this before, but it's quite good to do this again just to remind you at the end of the year if you're going for New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve fireworks at Magic Kingdom are not just on New Year's Eve. They have them the day before as well. There are actually 4 chances to see New Year's Eve fireworks. 2 on the day before New Year's Eve and then 2 on actual New Year's Eve. They do them a little bit earlier in the evening and then again at midnight. So you've got 4 chances to see the New Year's Eve fireworks. So I would always do New Year's Eve over at Magic Kingdom and then Epcot for actual New Year's Eve, where there's only 1 chance to celebrate the fireworks for New Year's Eve at Epcot. So that's what I would do. New Year's Eve at Magic Kingdom, New Year's Eve at Epcot. And that's it for this year on the podcast. A massive thank you to you if you've been a guest, if you've been a listener, if you've subscribed, if you have shared the podcast, if you've shared any tips, you've tagged us any posts. A massive thank you. I'm wishing you all the best for the Christmas season, however you may be celebrating. Maybe you'll be celebrating at Disney World. Give me a shout. We'll get you on next year. Do follow us on the socials to find out what I'm up to over the next few weeks and next few months. At Pod Magical is where we are. And until next time, please stand clear of the doors.